As we go through life, we will meet a variety of people and we'll build complicated personal relationships with them. There are various types of relationships, such as friend, work, romantic, and family relationships. It is important to remember that relationships are as individual and different as the people who are part of them. There are different expectations in every relationship. Sometimes these expectations are made clear by talking about them, but other times they're just unspoken rules that develop as the people spend time together. In this series, we're going to talk about different aspects of relationships from different point of view with Dr. Sahar Monfared, Maria, Adam, and Sanaz. Today's topic is age difference. Can an age gap damage a relationship? So let's start with Maria. How much age difference plays a role in choosing your significant other?
I think it plays a really big role in choosing someone. I can go out and meet a great guy and click with him on so many levels, and then he's like, oh, I'm 23, and I'm like, oh, never mind. Like, I just...
So you mean like, I mean, I don't know your age, so...
I'm 28.
Okay, so like you wouldn't marry a younger guy no matter what, even 1 year. I mean, everything is connected, everything is going well.
Maybe a year.
Maybe a year.
No less than that, because I feel like men mature later.
Mature,
and
okay.
I feel like the younger they are, the less mature they are. And
I see. Son is,
yeah.
does that?
I agree 110% with Maria. The age is a big factor. I want to say it's not, but dating a younger, guy, having the experience of that, it's not going to work. They're immature and they're like, he's still growing up. And
so what if the guy was mature, like the age was
like
just
life
a number?
Experiences make you mature. So sometimes the older you are, you've gone through more things in life. Even though you see immature older adults, they still have gone through a lot more in life, and you want to have that kind of connection.
I wouldn't agree with that, because there are people that are younger than me that have been through 10 times more things than I have in my 28 years of life.
Yeah, I would take that back then. Never.
So you mentioned maturity. Okay, the person is mature, experienced everything. Everything you wanted, so why does the age has to play a role in that case? It
shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't. The thing is, it shouldn't matter if they meet all the criteria, but for some reason, I just can't. And I think it might have to do with culture.
Culture, okay.
Oh, well, she's 28. Why is she with a 23-year-old?
Adam, are you okay with dating an older woman?
I think age is just a number.
Be honest.
And age, I'm honest as heck. In fact, I would say that, women are like wine. The older they get, the more they suit the palate. You know what I mean? I know that was a joke, but I do truly believe age is a number, because I've dated older and I've dated younger, and I think that if they're at the same intellectual level, or not even intellect, but rather if they've established that connection with you, there's no age that would be a factor to that. You might connect well with someone that's of appropriate age, though. Not so let me clarify. There is under a certain age limit, it's not legally permitted, and it's not socially permitted, and it's not acceptable. I agree with that. But after they're at a point where they can, they're independent, they have their own decision-making ability, and they're mature, I think it's okay. And then I think even if they get older, so long as that there's that connection, there's that chemistry, there's that attraction, I'm not opposed to it.
Ladies, I'll start with you, Sanaz. Do you think, like, when you are thinking about age, are you thinking long-term? Or is this just a matter of, okay, this person hasn't experienced much, for example, because they say women age, I mean, it's just something I heard that they age faster than men. So are you thinking 30 years from now, like, is he going to look younger than me, and I'm going to be looking, does that matter for you?
Yeah, I think two things are important for women. The guy should, one, put her on a pedestal, two, not be more attractive than her, and three, be older.
Be older.
And yeah.
She just
and I will think more seriously, because if I met someone who's 3 years older than me or 4 years older than me, I see them more as a potential of commitment. you know, and
okay. Do you have a limit, like how much older that person has to be? Like, would you date somebody
she don't
who's
look
20
like my
years?
dad.
No way, no. I already have a dad.
Yeah, he
Okay,
should
so
look
not
like-
older than your dad. So you're not looking for a sugar daddy, basically.
No.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I definitely have a limit. Maybe no more than 5 years older than me.
No more than 5 years. Because, for example, in the older generations, like especially like I'm coming from a Persian background, so like there's like a 14 years difference. And sometimes I heard like from those people, it's better to marry almost, and the age difference is better not to be that much because you age together. Because I've heard like the man got older, grumpy, doesn't want to do anything at the 70. The lady is like at 55, she wants to like go travel and all that stuff, but the guy is not able to. So Dr. Monfari, like I want to ask your opinion, how much should age play a role?
I don't think it's age that's the factor. I think stages of life is different. I think if you look at it as where you're at in your stage of life, then it puts things a little bit more perspective. Someone who's 15 dating a 25-year-old, very different stages of life than someone who's 25 dating a 35-year-old. I think you have to kind of look at it at that point. Where in a relationship it starts becoming problematic is if one person is at a different stage than the other. For example, what you were just referring to, someone who's in that retirement mentality, right? They've reached the stage where they're done with their career, they want to retire, they don't really want to do anything, versus someone who's younger who may be starting their career and they're gung-ho and they're still climbing that corporate ladder. So that's going to become problematic. Someone who may be older, who has already had a child or two, is going to be at a different stage than someone who's 25 who wants to have a child. So I think if you look at it as where they're at in their stage of life versus age, it kind of puts things a little bit in more perspective. You were talking about the 28 versus 28 versus 23. 28, in general, people are a little bit more established, they're ready to kind of not do necessarily the club bar scene. 23-year-old saying, woohoo, I just finished school, and I'm kind of starting that partying still mentality. So that's harder to mesh, versus if you're 35, you're dating a 30-year-old, it's a little bit easier.
And do you think reproduction plays a role? For example, Adam,
Unfortunately, it does. So I like to back up just because there was three things I wanted to kind of get back at. So there was that notion about how women age more or faster than men. But Jennifer Lopez defined that big time. She's 50 years old. That woman is just, she looks amazing. And I think that's not true. Overall, I don't think that to be the case. I think some have, different skin types and so forth. That obviously has a factor in it. Weather, what their personal hygiene, their genetics and so forth. All these things are factors. So just that notion go away. And then in terms of the fact of putting certain requirements, and I think Sana's earlier brought it up. She said, well, he has to be older than me. He has to put me on a pedestal. He has to put I think you just disqualified the 99.5% of the population. But that's separate to be said. So there's just some comments. But in terms of with regards to reproduction, so it is this notion. And I'll be honest, as a guy, there was times that there's often times that we have guys' night or guys' days or guys' time that we sit and we talk. It's just men. There's no females in the room, and the talk tends. We've had the talk. Well, yeah, we as men, we've got it best. It's working out perfect for us. We've got it made for us because we can reproduce. We can, reproduce or cause a baby up to 100. Didn't you see? So and so was 89 years old and he has as a child now, but for women, unfortunately, it's at a point they cannot reproduce. And I think, unfortunately, when that conversation was said, I was very saddened about it because I never even thought about it in that perspective. But then, you cannot deny that there is that. Once you hear about it, you start thinking, okay, I have this I'm just forever young, and unfortunately for women, our partners can't. So we should try to at least give them a portion of time, an extra portion of time, or meet them at a point that they have that time to be able to reproduce or to do those things if you have that desire to have kids. I'm not in agreement with this at all. And so I do not think that that should even be a factor. I don't think that that should affect anything. I think that it's unfortunate sort of part of nature that that's the case. But does it affect guys? I think it has. I think it has actively played a role. And I think men have made decisions based on that and continue to make decisions on it. And they try to get younger women, and they go and get these younger girls that are, and maybe they are, and I don't understand the concept why they say when women are younger they're more attractive or so forth, because you see it in these shows and videos, movies all the time. It's like the older women are always like kind of bashing this, saying, well, he just went out with a younger girl, and those younger girls are prettier, but they're really not. They don't have as much sophistication. So there's this. It's a mess, but point being is that I don't understand it so much, and I don't agree with it.
But an 89-year-old, even if he has a baby, he's not really going to be able to really
raise his baby.
Be there, you know? Like, look at Hugh Hefner, and we're talking about celebrities, mentioned J-Lo. So what Hugh Hefner, I mean, he had the 3 girlfriends. One of them wanted to have a baby. He was not, he could have, but he just didn't want, he had his children, and all the girlfriends separated and had.
He could have though.
He could have had, but he just didn't want to be that old dad.
But that's a personal choice. We're talking about the ability. The ability is there. Yeah. A man can do that. And it's unfortunate that becomes a factor. I mean,
it is.
What's your opinion, Maria? Like, do you agree with them?
Visibly, it makes her upset. It's a very touchy subject.
Yeah,
I apologize.
I mean, of course. I mean, for me, like, as I'm getting closer to 30s, I'm like, I need to have a baby. You know what I mean? Not just like go randomly have a baby, obviously, but I'm just like thinking about like, I need to get married. And at this point, like now I feel like I'm becoming less picky, actually. As I'm getting older, I'm like, all right, Maria, you're not gonna find,
the Prince Charming you always dreamed about.
So I have to just like calm down and, I feel it.
Like give more chances.
You mentioned J-Lo, all these celebrities. Does money play a role?
Oh
like when a younger guy marries an older woman, considering putting the reproduction on the side?
I don't know of any younger guy with older. Oh yeah, I guess the J-Lo example.
There's many, but
honestly, I think it's a physical thing for J-Lo. She's been with like multiple people.
But J-Lo shouldn't be an example, because honestly, if I had millions of dollars to throw away, I'd look like her too.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, genetics.
I feel so sad as a man for the pressure that women have to go through. I genuinely mean that. Like, and you guys have this this notion, like you said, that like, oh, it's about time. I'm 28. Like, I'm getting up to there. I'm getting closer to that line. I have to expedite something. I have to do that. That is such a pressure. And
so what are you going to do about it? How are you going to help us deal with that? Like, are you going to talk to your friends and let them know, hey, guys, get it together?
Yeah, or right. And maybe 3 years ago,
be an influence.
When I was in that group setting, that they were talking about this, saying these things as guys, saying, well, yeah, we're like invincible and so forth. I should have said, calm down. At the same respect, that's a daughter. That could be of your daughter. That you're saying, it's okay, her timeline. So maybe be more cognizant of that, and be more serious about your personal relationships in order to, and meet a girl that you can, give her enough time, or try to be actively looking and not playing games with many girls or whatever it may be, to put it in perspective. And unfortunately, I think we've failed as men. We've failed, and we've dropped the ball to put women in this perspective, that now they actually have to have this added pressure to their lives of already what women face. And I think not only do you guys have like problems of pay inequalities and all these other matters that are very pertinent. I mean, with that, and this being another one. I mean, it's really hard.
Well, thank you.
Dr. Monfar, do you think culture plays a role in this mentality?
As far as age, I think it can. I think different cultures, there's more of a taboo than others. I think in certain cultures, the age difference of a man being older than a female is more acceptable. It's definitely more of a taboo if a female, especially in the Middle Eastern culture, if a female is older than the man. There's always that pressure that's placed upon them. I think you know, the internal pressure that females face because of what they think people will say behind their backs is extremely high.
Yeah.
And that's where the self-confidence of the female has to come in to try to block it out. You know, you have an older female with a younger man, the first thing, or vice versa. The females are usually, you were talking about the reproductive thing, is usually blamed. If a young female is with an older man, the first thing people say is she must not be able to have a kid because why else? If she's older with a younger man, they'll turn around and be like, oh, poor him, he's never going to be a father. You know, there's always that internal pressure that's placed upon them. I think Americans in general are more accepting of that age difference because I think the pressure of finding the one is less for them as far as that's concerned. There's more of this acceptance of it's okay to have that individuality aspect of yourself. I think for other cultures, specifically, you know, the Middle Eastern culture, that's a huge factor of to be by yourself is not as accepted as to be part of, you know, because the notion of you're going to die alone.
Yeah.
All right.
And we also mentioned about fame and money plays a role, but we have like examples in real life. We see, for example, President of France, who's like 35, the recent president, who's 35 and his wife is 60. They fell in love when he was 17, and I don't think money played a role there. Like I think emotion and love played a role there. How does that happen? Yeah.
Well, I think what you look at is when you're talking about entering a relationship, we all have a deal breakers. Usually there's about 4 or 5 deal breakers that majority of people have. And then there's what we call preference. People mix those two up sometimes. We think we have to. So age is more of a preference. It's typically not a deal breaker. Deal breakers are, for some, religion, whether they want to have a kid or not, maybe financial stability, trust, cheating, things like that may be deal breakers for some. But the top ones are usually finance, religion, kids are usually deal breakers. By that I mean, do they want to have a kid or not? The other things you're talking about, whether they're older or younger, are preference, height, weight, their appearance. That stuff is more of, I would prefer that they're older than me. I would prefer that they're only 1 year younger than me. But I think a lot of times we mix those two factors up and assume that that's the way it is. So you were giving those examples. It may have been because at that moment in time, he's not thinking about, you know, age or anything like that. He's thinking about deal breaker. She's, you know, she's compassionate towards me. She loves me. She gives me unconditional love. I trust her. Those may be the deal breakers. So sometimes when you see these age differences between couples is because they go past what they prefer, what is accepted societally, and they really look at those 3 or 4 deal breakers that are on their list. And if those deal breakers are fulfilled, then they're able to be in that relationship or maintain that relationship.
I see. And Dr. Monfard, towards the beginning, mentioned about it depends on the stage you're at life. I've heard people, like women who were like 30 in their early 30s, they specifically wanted to experience dating younger guys. So what do you think? Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Maybe a stage maybe of their life.
So
maybe they were married, it didn't work out, so they're in the dating scene and it feels good to be with a younger guy. Because they still think they have it, they could still get a younger guy, I guess.
Adam, have you had that experience?
Yes. So I think it's self-assurance. You see that you still have it. That could be a reason. Another reason could be that they want that energy and youth, and they want that they want to be reminded or brought back to, like, you know, what it was to be that age. It's a good flash from the past kind of thing that happens. And so you have to, you know, they might have a portion of them that's connected to this person that's younger and that they want to revisit, and they're using you as a tool to get there. And I've seen that. Yeah, in fact, I have a person comes to mind that won't leave me alone, but is very much older, and I do not frown away from it. In fact, I really, you know, harness and kind of respect that relationship, even though I know that I would never, you know, commit to it, or even be involved in it, to more than just a hello, how are you, or some basic conversations. But I'm willing to allow them, to give them that hope, or to kind of, or to at least not crush their hope, because it was once said that there is no medicine like hope, and people live off of hope, and a life without hope is purposeless. So I think there's a lot of things that happen. I don't shy away from it. I think it's
that's kind of mean. Why would you do that?
Okay, I'm not egging her on, saying that we're going to have a future. I'm saying,
I mean,
listen,
but you
I
never
prefer
say
not.
never. What if this is actually like it for you? I mean, you don't know what happens, and then like, what if this woman is in your life for a reason? She might be older, you might not see it now, but you never know.
Well, I don't.
Can you be open to the possibility?
I don't believe in destiny and fate or anything of that sort. I'm a very like black and white, defy all the concepts of magical rainbows and unicorns and stuff like that. So.
Well, I think one thing that you're talking about, older females with younger men, and the reality is that one thing we haven't brought up is female sexuality. And depending on what culture you are, it's very hush-hush. Females are not allowed to speak about their sexuality and their sexual needs and desires, right? And the reality is, as females get older, they become more comfortable in their skin and are more verbal about what they want sexually. And that is also contributes to them dating some younger men, because they're able to verbalize to the younger men what they want and the stamina and endurance that they would want. You know, there is something to be said about, they said females will reach their sexual peak in their early 40s, and males are reaching it in their early 20s for some. So that may also be a factor of why females, you were talking about, will date younger men, particularly in that age bracket. They're becoming more comfortable with their sexuality and sexual needs.
I apologize. I got it. I think a light bulb just went off as you were saying it. So they become more sexually prone or proud. Verbal.
Maybe sexually verbal. They verbalize what they want.
They're in the mood more.
They're more comfortable.
Yeah, they're definitely reaching their sexual peak.
Yes.
I did not realize. That's a new thing. You learn everything. Okay, so that's why so I have to realize that if any young individual of mine or friend of mine is looking for a physical relationship to try to get to that, to target that market.
Well, but I've heard from a lot of guys I know that they will go for women in their 30s only for that reason, because they say women in their 30s, they know what they want, sexually.
They don't play games.
Yeah, there's no games. It's like, I want XYZ. This is what I want.
They're more comfortable in their skin. They've had the ability to really adapt and explore themselves, and they become more verbal about what their needs are, versus someone who's maybe 21 who hasn't experienced that and hasn't built their self-confidence. They're more timid to say, I would like you to do X, Y, and Z. So that does play a factor in it.
Okay, great. So now we're running out of time. So if you can, as a wrap-up, give a general statement about age difference playing a role in the relationship.
I think what I would say is look beyond the age. That is something that is more of a preference than a deal breaker for most. Really hone in and see what stage of life that other partner is, because that's going to be ultimately the factor that will determine whether that's going to be a healthy relationship or not. And as always, communicate, communicate, communicate.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Monfared, and thank you guys for your comments. Thank you for being with us. True love isn't found, it's built.